So you found out you're losing your home, apartment, or whatever, and you're going to have to move into a vehicle, specifically a van, although the material I'll be covering can be applied to other vehicles. I think the first thing that you need to consider is that the van or the vehicle is going to be your safety in your home, where you're going to sleep, and that's going to be very important. In this regard, I think having a van is really useful, and having a bed is even more important, a comfortable bed. Now, if you've got bedding, you might be able to pull off your current bedding if you've got like a twin size or maybe even a queen. Some vans are big enough to take a queen, but this is showing queen here. But you can actually pick up a blow-up mattress here at Walmart for twin size. It says twin, I don't know if you can see that, for $7.97, $8. So for $8, you can sleep on air. And I would highly recommend getting something like that as a base. And then comforters and other stuff on top of that. So you're not sleeping on the hard floor of the vehicle. So for our budget right now, we're looking at $8 for a blow-up mattress. There are lots of camping supplies, which may be useful for van dwelling, but I'm going to skip those for now because the build we're going to do is an emergency build. Now, some people like cooking with propane, so you can get like propane cooking systems here with the fuel canisters. I think they're, what is this, $347 for one or $624 for two. And with that, you can cook with one of these stoves. Probably get a small one for like $20 or so, a little propane single burner. So some people may opt to go that way, like one of these. But these are more expensive, bigger units. They do have the smaller ones. I'm having a hard time finding it here. Basically, the small ones just screw onto the propane can itself, and you cook right on it. You cook right on the can. And they run about $20 or so. Me, I am not going to do that. I'm going to set up an electric inverter cooking system, which you've seen me do on a little Blue 2. I'm going to walk those of you through who are wanting to do this by yourself for your own build, whether it's inside a van or a car. So let's skip the camping section for now and go look at the components that would be required to build an inverter cooking system. Okay, one of the first things you're going to need for the cooking system is an inverter that's powerful enough to run your electrical appliances. Now, I'm over at this Walmart, and sadly, it looks like all their inverters are missing. Except for this one. This one says 1,000. This is a 1,000 watt converter. Yeah, this is an inverter that will actually convert from 12 volts up to 1,000, which is more than adequate. It depends. I mean, the cooking appliances usually run anywhere from 300 to 1,600 watts. So this thing goes up to 1,000 watts, so it could handle most of the items for cooking. So something like that would be suitable, but I don't know how much that costs. Probably this one here, probably about $100. The one I'm talking about that I was hoping to show you is this one here for $40 that they have, or one here for $29, $30. It's a 400 watt inverter at minimum. They have one here that's 120 watts, but that's too small. You could run probably a laptop from that, but you'd have a hard time cooking anything with it. However, this 400 watt one here and this other one, which is 750 watts, can be used to run the rice cooker that I'll be showing you how I set up on my system. So at a minimum, you'd need this 400 watt one, which is $30, or better yet, if you go $10 more, you can get the 750 one, 750 watts. That would be the one I would recommend, because 750 or 1,000 watts. Personally, I'd probably go with the 750 for $40 if I was in an emergency situation, because the rice cooker that we're going to run is only 300 watts. The other thing you're going to want is some booster cable. to recharge your, well, this is if you decide to go with a house battery system. So the booster cable and a RV battery. The cable here, a 12-foot 8 gauge, is $10. Yeah, I think you can get a 10 gauge. Where's the 10 gauge? 8 gauge is good, but you can get an 8 gauge or even a 10 gauge, I think, for about $9 or $10. And the battery is about, these are the batteries you're going to want, the ones that say RV and marine RV battery, because they're what's known as deep cycle. They are designed to be used over and over and run down quite a bit before you recharge it back up, versus a regular car starter battery. And those things run about, let's say $100 just to round it off. But we're not going to get one for our build because I already have one. And I'm going to show you how to do it without that if you didn't, you know, if you didn't have the, if you didn't have a house battery system. It's going to do a really simple emergency build. So the day I decided to make this video, nobody has the components, or this particular Walmart doesn't have the components we really want. What we're looking at are rice cookers. This is a Black & Decker 14 cup. It's too big and probably going to need about 800 watts or so or more. The one we want is this one that's out of stock. It's $14.96. And see how it says, I think AR, that's the Roma 6-cup rice cooker. It's a 6-cup rice cooker, and it basically is smaller, and it'll only need 300 watts. These others require usually like 600 or 800 watts. They usually print them on the bottom, but as I've been looking on these, but these are the demo models. They don't have the writing on them that shows how many watts they take. But typically, where the plug goes in, you can look on a cooking item or any electrical appliance where the plug plugs into the unit, and it'll tell you. The small little rice cooker here that's available for $14.96 normally is only 300 watts. That's why I was saying that if we got a 400 watt inverter, it would be more than adequate. 750, and you've got a little buffer there. You could run the rice cooker and several other items at the same time. Maybe one power tool at a time or something, if you need it. These other units here are a little bit too big. Now keep in mind, I said rice cooker and not crock pot. Now crock pots actually, I think, use less power, but they cook slower. They're meant to cook all day, whereas the rice cooker can cook really fast. If you've been watching Cooking with Denoy inside Little Blue 2, you've seen me cook like meats and steak and stuff inside the rice cooker in addition to using it to cook rice. So I recommend getting one, if not two, rice cookers. And the other thing about it is, because they're 120 volts normally, when you have access to a 120 volt outlet like at a park or something, you can plug it in and use it to cook without having to cook while you're inside your vehicle. So I've covered pretty much the essentials of what I think you would need to rig the van for living in. But one thing you're going to want is some privacy. And to give you some privacy, you want to put up curtains. I like these U-shaped beams here. Like these small ones are only 94 cents, but I think these are too thin. My experience with these are they kind of break. So I'd go with the more expensive $1.57 ones. But you get these U-shaped ones, and they're designed for curtains. And what you do is you flatten them out, like you unbend this part, and you can put a hole in here and drill it directly into the molding on your van. And then you can just pick up curtains to black out the system or black out your windows. And I recommend these thermal Eclipse blackout panels. They're like $10 each, and they come in different sizes. What I would get is the longer size. There's like an 84-inch one that you can cut in half. And you can use the bottom half. Also has a hole, slot in the hole where you can thread it through that beam. So those Eclipses is what I use, and they work really well. The The larger one, I think, are about, I don't know if they're $10. Yeah, they seem to be about $10 to $12 per sheet. Otherwise, you can use curtains from your existing house or buy them from Goodwill or something, you know. Maybe even use shower curtains if you needed to. But I recommend those Eclipse because I use them and they work well.